Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to Bat chat about another Bat book. And when you look at the Batman character, there is just a wealth of material out there to read. If you really want to get time to really learn about the character and really delve into the mythology of Batman. Batman being one of those characters that despite I don't know if you call Rebirth a full reboot, but if you're looking at pre New 52, even through New 52, even through Rebirth, really, three sort of iterations, and I know there's kind of more out there with, with Crisis and Infinite Earths and so forth and so on, but if you're looking at 80 years, the character has pretty much remained intact, and but that said, just the wealth of material that is out there for you to read and really, delve into the character, it's overwhelming. It could be overwhelming, but there's a lot out there. And I'm getting ready to just kind of show some of the books I have here. This shelf here is predominantly just Batman. And I show this not to really be kind of arrogant and just kind of say, hey, look at me and my Batman collection. And maybe one day I will kind of show some of the Bat books I have, but I do this to illustrate a point. And I don't know where near have all the Batman books out there, but there is a lot out there, and to say that they vary in quality is an understatement. Some are great, some are bad. Some are great, and you have a great reading experience. Some are bad, and you can kind of take some positives with it. And some are just, you kind of take them at what they are, and just have fun for the ride. And this book today, I'm going to talk a little bit about. Not going to go too far in depth in this, because this is one I'm going to say I'm going to recommend, just be up front. This is one I enjoyed it, had a great time reading it. It's called The Strange Deaths of Batman. And to be honest, I bought this by accident. This is actually a collection of a whole bunch of Batman stories through different titles. I'll give you the breakdown here in a minute. But I was really trying to get the many deaths of Batman. It's I want to say it was right before Nightfall. I've actually been right around 10 Nights at the Beach. Might have been right after. And I think it was strictly in Batman. And it's one of those books that are kind of out of print and hard to get. But got this and still found a way to get some joy out of it. And like I said, this is a collection of Batman stories throughout a different bunch of titles. And this rundown is actually pretty impressive. Kind of look at it. As you see, there's 6 stories. And I'm going to say 6, the last one. But it's so short, I don't even know if I even call it that. But the first one is called The Strange Death of Batman. That occurs in Detective Comics 347. The second story is called Robin's Revenge, which occurred in World's Finest. That was issue number 184. Then we have The Corpse That Wouldn't Die, which occurred in issue 115 of Brave and the Bold. And then we have a 3-parter, if I remember right. It might actually be more. That might be 4. Yeah, I think it was 4. It was Where Were You in the Night Batman Was Killed, which occurred in Batman issues 291 to 294. Then you have Buried Alive, which is World's Finest, issue number 269. Then you have The Prison, which occurred in Batman Chronicles number 8. And you have Modern Romance, which is Nightwing number 52. And it's a relatively short one. So you're getting, again, 6 stories. And if you're just kind of looking at the price tag on this thing, this is $19, and this is a trade paperback. I don't think this is out of print per se, so this one you should be able to get your hands on. But if you look at it again, the collection of stories that these publications came from, you gotta keep in mind the time period, all the way up maybe until Nightwing, which kind of more modern. But these I would almost go, I don't know if I'm gonna say Bronze Age, but I might. Definitely not silver. Yeah, maybe not silver, bronze, somewhere from. I mean, you're talking early days of Batman, And what I will say is that, again, while as a whole, this was fun, right around this story right here, where were you when the night Batman was killed? You definitely have that Silver Bronze Age type of feel through the storytelling in the first three. But once you hit this, you kind of go into a little bit more of a modern feel to it. But again, they're all good, but you have to kind of read these and take it in context, the time period you're in. And like the first one, the story, Batman with Boy Wonder. This one, which was written by Gardner Fox with art by Carmine Infantino and Joe Gallia, if I'm saying that name right. Mainly, it kind of goes into it's doing the main villain here is a guy named called the Bouncer, and he's really just bounces around buildings and steals things, and so you got to kind of keep in mind, and this is the type of people we're talking about, and at least the time period. But what's good about the first story, it's kind of like it has like two parts. So you have one where Batman doesn't die in his battle against the Bouncer, but you see, you kind of get to the first part, you get done with the first part, then you have this kind of like, if you like Harley Quinn, especially in the volume 2, which is like the New 52 part, one of the things that just made that book so good is how well it broke the fourth wall. And maybe not so much now. I think that was kind of more of a Connor thing, and then Sam Humphries does it time to time, but definitely the New 52, that they did that, like that was like a part of the actual story, like a trademark thing with Connor with Harley Quinn New 52. But this actually goes into, it kind of takes that type of approach where the writer actually takes into consideration. So yeah, he wrote the first part of the story, and then he kind of reflects on, it's like, hey, what if Batman actually died in that battle against the Bouncer? And it's actually a story kind of going up on how would Robin deal with, and not only that, the Justice League, the death of Batman in the hands of the Bouncer. And it kind of comes out at the very end. It's really not the case, but it was pretty interesting. You have two different approaches to the story. It's kind of like a what if. I know I think Marvel has those books, the what ifs. Like what if, like Spider-Man was like the Punisher type of thing. Well, this was the same type of approach here with DC. And they kind of use as a what if, Batman actually died in this battle against the Bouncer. Well, what actually happened? Which I thought was kind of interesting. But again, you got to keep in mind, this is Dick Grayson, Robin. This is, that chummy old time period of Batman where you just gotta take it for what it is. There's some of that time period definitely in the dialogue and the way people act, but it was definitely fun. The second one, this is Robin's Revenge, which again, for going back, this is by Gary Pates, and this is World's Finest. This is actually Batman died in a battle, and how would Robin and Superman actually cope with this? This is actually a point you go out, you see, Green Lantern actually put up a memorial of Batman. They kind of reflect on, what happened to him in this battle, and then Dick Grayson actually gets a different persona. Rick Danner actually goes to college and actually tries to be normal a little bit, somewhat, but still does research into what actually happened with Batman's death, as you kind of see here. I think it was the main villain is what is it? Golden Gloves? I forget. I forget. It's someone who really just like can sit there and use these gloves to tear down walls and get in safes, whatnot. Again, it's the time period. But it's interesting. You can really, as long as you kind of keep in mind, especially with these first two stories, it's the time period that you're in, you can get some really good enjoyment in it. You actually see Batman come back. This one right here, Batman and Adam, which is in World's Finest, I believe. No, Brave and the Bold, issue number 115. This one was awesome. This one deals with Batman actually trying to solve the case of this girl who's like kind of like a Leslie Tompkins in a way in the community, who actually gets killed. And during the investigation, Batman, you see actually Batman kind of lose his edge a little bit because this is someone he actually knew the importance of the community. Just look at that art, by the way. This is just awesome to look at. Well, actually, Batman during the investigation actually gets killed, and what the Atom does is shrinks down to a microscope level, so now he can go into Batman and actually operate his body kind of like, Weekend at Bernie's. And it sounds quirky, but it's so good how the stories actually get executed in this. It was really, really a fun read. And how Batman kind of comes back at the end was one that was pretty interesting as well. The great art captured the time period and was all in all a fun story. I love that story. You keep in mind again, there is literally like Batman walking around like, let me actually see if I can get a panel here. Actually walk around like right here. It's actually like Weekend at Bernie's. Like you almost kind of think in the back of your mind that music being played in the background, and it's kooky but funny at the same time. But kooky, funny, but I'm gonna say that serious. You actually see, the Atom going from membrane to membrane to make Batman being able to walk and function. It was really awesome storytelling and really nice to actually look at. This one here, this is like I mentioned, this is kind of like the turning point. This was in Batman 291 to 294. This is where were you the night Batman was killed. And basically what this is that Batman has apparently been killed, and what is actually occurring is that Ra's al Ghul is actually a judge, and Two-Face appears to be Two-Face. I should have really said that, kind of ruined it a little bit. But anyway, Two-Face is the prosecutor, and what you have here is Lex Luthor, Catwoman, Joker, and Riddler all claim to be the person that actually killed Batman. And what this actually story is, and it's broken out again by those 4 chapters, and each chapter is one of the characters actually telling the story of how they kill Batman. First one being Catwoman, actually telling the story how accidentally Batman was killed, and while she did it, it's kind of like some remorse to it. And initially, the rogues really don't buy it because they kind of get the gist of the relationship Catwoman may or may not have with Batman. But obviously her claim of how she, killed Batman is actually reputed. Pretty interestingly, and one that actually made sense how they kind of sold that. And you actually see, you actually have the jury, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, and this is Two-Face here. I forget who else. Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow, Poison Ivy. I forget the other ones are actually in here. Actually saying, hey, based off that story and the rebuttal that Two-Face brought up, Catwoman, you're not guilty. You did not kill Batman. Next one is the Riddler. This one I think was the weakest of the 4, to be perfectly honest. It's literally, Batman on the way down the road, and he actually runs into a glass panel, and you see the Batmobile in the middle of the road. It was a stretch, to say the least. How actually Batman, quote unquote, died. But again, the case is refuted pretty logically by Two-Face, and then you again get the jury saying, hey, not guilty. Next one is Lex Luthor actually get Superman actually come in as a witness into this trial, and actually rebutes Luthor's claim as to why he didn't kill Batman when he said he did. And again, the way he's found not guilty was kind of interesting. I'm trying not to go too far in depth in this because this is what I want to really recommend, but the art in this is great. Superman's part in the actual trial didn't feel forced. I think it was Killer Moth. I can't remember. Where's that Firefly? No, it's not Firefly. I think it's Killer Moth. Either way. Anyway, the last story is the Joker. Obviously, it kind of makes sense having the Joker come in here. And this kind of brings the story full circle. As I said, kind of like, hey, the prosecutor is Two-Face, sort of. Well, you get the gist why I say sort of here. And in that, well, we will say, well, this is the one where Joker, I think, of the four, was the closest one to think he actually killed Batman, even though he didn't. But in his mind, what he thought he saw, he actually did. But it's not him. I'll leave it at that. Again, the art in this is great. The story, again, kind of comes full circle. And I thought it was really nicely done, to be perfectly honest. Art's great. Again, it made sense. It was logical. It wasn't really a stretch. Kind of cheesy, though, in a way. Kind of look at it, but still really well done and great art. And just an overall good concept, 4-part story. This one, it had like a Batman 66 feel, but a little bit more modern. Again, this is Brave and the Bold. I'm sorry, World's Finest. This is actually Batman being killed and being buried alive, in a case where Superman and Commissioner Gordon trying to find him, but Batman finds a way to escape. And pretty, calming. It is what it is. It's contrived, but again, kind of looking at the time period, actually how it happened. Fair enough. Great story, great concept, executed a little choppy here and there. Great art in this. Again, how Batman escapes is what it is. This one, I forget the. I'll just go all the way back. Actually, I wrote my notes. This is the one. Actually deals. This is the prison that occurred in Batman Chronicles number 8. This one was an interesting story, in that it dealt with Talia al Ghul actually being sent by Ra's to go out and take out Batman. And you actually come across Batman in a prison where she actually has the opportunity to do so, but elects not to do so, to kill her beloved. Keep in mind, this is kind of like before Death of the Maidens, so that story, I think that's kind of like marks a critical point in Talia's history, where she kind of morphs into more of an aggressive personality, actually takes more of a Ra's al Ghul type stance on her character. So this is still a Talia al Ghul to me that really does love Bruce, and not as aggressive again. This is not someone who's gonna be someone like we see again toward the end of Death and Maidens, and definitely not in Grant Morrison's run, Batman and Son, leading all the way up to Batman Incorporated. This is not the same Talia. How it kind of played out was good. I mean, it's good art. It was a good concept of story. You actually see Batman down for the count, but Talia could have done it. But she elected not to. Actually, see, it's right here. Talia actually has the gun right at Batman, and she elects not to do so. Which was, again, it was very good on the drama side, good character, kind of I don't want to say character development, but it was character centric, and really getting into the emotions of Talia. She's torn again, being sent on this mission by Ra's al Ghul, and her wanting to actually kind of impress her father, but again, just can't bring herself to kill Bruce. And it was a good story. This one, again, this is Modern Romance. This was actually written by Chuck Dixon. This was in the pages of Nightwing. This is one of those dream sequences. Catwoman marries Batman, which, again, looking at this now and to what we actually had in Batman and Tom King's run with the wedding, it just feels kind of makes you kind of wonder, is it ever going to happen? But either way, but this one has a twist, as you kind of see in the bottom panel what Catwoman may or may not do again. But you wake up and you see, like, oh yeah, this is not more than a dream sequence. it was short, and well, the art I thought was okay. The story by Chuck Dixon there was definitely not one of his finest. If I had to kind of rack and stack the stories, I get kind of torn on some of them, to be perfectly honest. I would have to say Where Were You the Night Batman Was Killed was probably the best story. Buried Alive and The Corpse That Wouldn't Die probably tie for second. The Robin's Revenge, I put third, followed by The Prison fourth. The Strange Deaths of Batman fifth, and then Modern Romance as sixth. The sad part, 1 through 5, I thought all had good qualities. 2 of them were sixth. It just felt kind of like filler. So, but again, if you're looking at it, this is one that's just you kind of take the concept. What if Batman died? How would some of these stories play out? What if Batman was put in a position where he could die? And how would the characters kind of react to that? This is one of those stories. It's like, it's just a big giant, what if type of concept. And it was fun. This is, with the exception, I think, like they said, like that last story with Catwoman. This is kind of like old school Batman here. Great art. Just has that type of feel when you're reading it. It's fun. You can't get too analytical. That's why I'm not really diving too much in the analysis on this, because this one, I just had fun. It was a fun book. 6 stories, $20. Good quality book, great quality paper. It was fun. So this one, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And with the recommendation to, pick it up if you come across it. If you're just looking for a good time. The problem with this one, I don't know where to put this in a Batman timeline. I wouldn't even know where to start. Not only that it has different stories from different time periods, I think that middle story, the trial, is kind of like the central part of the story. The 4-parter. You can kind of maybe, based off that, put it somewhere in the timeline, but I'm having trouble. So I'll figure out at some point. I think the only thing I can kind of go off is just, Catwoman's costume in that, and just kind of go from there. Even Mr. Freeze's costume, and just kind of say, hey, based off the timeline, where this thing kind of go. But it's definitely not one where it fits nice and snug in there. This one, you just kind of just take it. So it could even be, it's not canon, obviously. Don't want to say Elseworlds, but it's just one that just floats around. So, but again, go into this, just want to have a good time. So that's my recommendation. So anyway, hit me up in the comments below if you read this book or you read the issues contained within. We'll bat chat and go from there. So I'm eyeing up probably another trade to kind of talk about in the next video. Don't know when. Would like to sit there and talk about a Batman issue here and there in modern today, either Batman Detective. I haven't done a Detective 1000. May or may not do that. But the big video I have eyed up here, it's coming pretty darn soon. I just gotta find the time. That one, I can tell you right now, it's gonna be like a 30-minute video. Is the video I'm gonna do. It kind of goes around that big goal I had that was able to finally accomplish. So, anyway, until then, take care.